seen the look on Juliet's face and caught the frantically anxious tone in her voice, Sophie's affairs had instantly taken a back seat to Juliet's, and they'd remained there ever since. Gabriel and his brothers were none other than the four most famous archangels in existence: Michael, the warrior angel; Uriel, the angel of vengeance; Gabriel, the messenger angel; and Azrael, the angel of death. "He looks the part," Sophie thought now as she again stole a surreptitious glance at the beautiful man. He was too handsome. It was the kind of handsome that was difficult to look at. He had a Dorian Gray appearance about him that made her wonder whether he'd sold his soul so that he could look the way he did. According to Juliet, the four favored had come to Earth 2,000 years ago in order to find something very precious to them: their mates. It sounded like something out of a werewolf romance, but there it was. Apparently, the brother archangels had been given gifts by the old man in the form of four perfect female archangels. These he called archesses. Before the archangels could claim them, however, the old man sent the archesses to Earth, and there they were scattered, lost to their mates for centuries. Lost until now. For some reason, archesses seemed to be popping up all at once. Well, maybe not all at once, Sophie reasoned as she dutifully lifted the train of her best friend's gorgeous wedding gown and followed her down the aisle toward the altar. After all, Juliet was only the second archess to be found of the four that had been created. Maybe it was only coincidence that she and the first archess had both made their appearance within months of each other. Still, 2,000 years without anything, and then, in the course of a few months, two archesses appear? Sophie glanced furtively towards Uriel, the first archangel of the four brothers to have met his archess. He also looked unbelievably handsome in his fitted tux, with his piercing green eyes and wavy dark hair. Uriel had been surprising enough for Sophie to take in because he was also Christopher Daniels, the famous actor who played Jonathan Frakes, the good vampire, in the hit movie Comeuppance. Azrael was harder for Sophie to come to grips with. Not only was he literally the most handsome man she had ever laid eyes on, but he was supposedly the lead singer for Valley of Shadow, which was at that moment the most popular rock band in the world. Once she'd processed the information, she'd realized it made a lot of sense. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. How fitting, she thought. As the enigmatic leader of Valley, Azrael always took the stage wearing a black mask that hid half of his face from his fans. His voice crooned and hypnotized, pouring out over his audience with immense influence. His identity remained hidden. Sophie had been a breathless, swooning fan of Valley of Shadow since its inception. She'd been as mesmerized by the masked one's physique, charisma, presence, and otherworldly voice as every other woman in the world. When she downloaded his songs to her iPod, she was able to close her eyes and pretend that he was singing to her, and her alone. Hell, she even dreamed of him. "Oh, geez," she thought, as she flushed with both embarrassment and baffled anticipation at the memory. The bride took her place in front of the altar, and Sophie held her bouquet as the ceremony began. Sophie couldn't believe she was actually standing there, a few feet away from the masked one. To say nothing of the fact that he was also an archangel, the angel of death, no less. Her mind spun with the implications. "He's looking at me." She could feel the archangel's golden gaze searing into her from where he stood opposite her. She forced herself not to meet his gaze. She couldn't do it again. Every time she glanced up at him, she felt that he was staring right through to her soul, reading her from the inside out, absorbing her very spirit with those piercing orbs of his. It was too much. And yet, even as she knew she shouldn't because of the way it made her feel, she wanted to for the same reason. She was a moth to the flame. The vicar called for the rings, and Sophie actually felt Azrael's gaze lift. He gracefully pulled the set of heavy gold bands from the inside pocket of his black tux and handed them to the hand.